Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? I see you've come back for more. If you're new here, buckle up. And thank you all for joining me today. My name is DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. Today's film review will be on psychological thriller False Positive.
Let's just find out if we can get pregnant. And if we can't, then, we'll blow the college fund on some of the best vacations of our lives.
Calm. Now, I know I said last week that I would do a review of the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, but I'm going to be pushing that back to next week. False Positive came out last Friday, so I really wanted to get this out to you. That way you can decide if you want to watch it this weekend. False Positive was written and produced by Ilana Glazer and John Lee. John Lee is also the director and came up with the idea for this story when his wife had a miscarriage soon after his father passed away. John Lee directed several episodes of Broad City, and his last film that he directed was Pee-wee's Big Holiday from 2016. The last few years, he's mostly been directing TV shows like Inside Amy Schumer, The Last OG, and The Heart She Holler. When Ilana found out that John Lee would be on the Broad City set, she was a little starstruck because she had been a fan of his series Wonder Chosen. And when I found out that Ilana Glazer was going to be in a horror film, I kind of thought that it might be a little bit of a comedy horror, but instead, this film is a straight psychological thriller. This pregnancy horror movie is the first true horror film from both filmmakers. John Lee has played with comedy horror and a little bit of dark comedy, but this is the first time, from what I can tell, that he's used elements of horror and thriller and mixed it with drama. I'll get into some spoilers later in the video, but until then, I'll remain spoiler-free. At the time of losing his father and his wife having a miscarriage, John was reading J.M. Barrie's Peter and Wendy, which made him think a lot about love and loss. So throughout the film, there are a lot of Peter Pan references, which can get a bit creepy, especially toward the end, because of the imagery that we're seeing mixed with the audio that we're listening to. Race, gender inequality, men controlling the reproductive system, the evils of the corporate world, and Big Pharma are all poked at in this film. We have a privileged white couple who go to a highly sought-after doctor for in vitro fertilization after 2 years of unsuccessfully trying to get pregnant. Lucy, Ilana's character, starts to think that there is something not quite right with her pregnancy, and all the people in her life, especially the men at work, at home, at the fertility center, are all controlling and gaslighting her. Lucy is a marketing executive at her firm, and as expected, as the only woman in the office, she is treated differently than her peers. For example, it's expected that she be the one who puts in everybody's lunch order every day. Lucy's husband, Adrian, is a successful plastic surgeon and is subtly controlling, especially when it comes to her pregnancy. After struggling for 2 years to get pregnant, they go see Dr. Hindle, played by Pierce Brosnan, who was also Adrian's mentor. Pierce was perfect for the role, and this role is a lot different from all the other roles that he's usually in that put him in a better light. I wouldn't be surprised if he took on more roles like this one. Ilana and John actually always had Pierce Brosnan in mind for this role, but didn't think they were going to actually cast him for the part. So when Pierce Brosnan agreed to join the cast, they were more than excited.
Past 30 years.
Dr. Hindle is an innovator in the field. You are with truly the best in the biz.
I swear, I didn't tell her to say that. You are in good and hopefully warm hands.
The story was just an idea when Ilana heard John mention a movie that he wanted to make. She became intrigued by the idea and really wanted to be a part of it, but John was hesitant at first for a couple of reasons. He had in mind that he wanted to use somebody a bit older for the role of Lucy. He wanted to comment on the practices of doctors when it came to geriatric pregnancies, which to him is an insulting term that describes pregnancies of people who are 35 and older. And hell yeah, it's insulting. John was also afraid that she would make this sad story of loss into a comedic one. But after some time, he agreed to let her join the team, and she helped him with his screenplay after seeing his film treatment. It took them 22 days to shoot, along with a few reshoots. John even wanted to put some photographs of doctors in the credits that were accused of abuse and malpractice, but for legal reasons, he wasn't able to. I really had fun watching this movie, even though there were plenty of moments where I was just like, what? Why? How? But I continued on with the hopes of a big payoff, and I believe that that payoff was delivered to us to some degree in the end. This is totally a modern day Rosemary's Baby, but very, very different. Husband Adrian is even named after Rosemary's Baby. I don't mind a predictable film from time to time, and this film is exactly that. But I was entertained enough by the performances, the cinematography, and the uniqueness of the plot that it didn't bother me that I knew what was going to happen next. Although there are moments that'll leave you like... I really loved how they played with light and dark. Also, back in the day, lights would be focused on the face of the person on screen, and I really enjoyed how they brought this technique into a modern day film. I think Ilana did an excellent job in this serious role. Even though she didn't turn this into a comedy, there are moments where you're gonna chuckle. And I believe this is due to John's direction. I say this because there are definitely moments where Pierce Brosnan is a bit comical when he's prepping the transducer and the speculum. While she delivered a great performance, it wasn't that easy for her. She said, quote, "It was really, really intense. I felt scared, paranoid, crazy, empty, and weak. My body felt so tense, scared, and in pain. I think false positive was a container for some of my anxieties about growing up and moving on and letting go." Even though she enjoyed making this film and would change nothing about it, it seems as though her next projects will not be horror. As you may know, coincidentally, she is going to be giving birth any day now, right at the release of this film. She plans to make a movie about her pregnancy experience as well as do a stand-up, but hopefully after a while she comes back to the dark side. Okay, Stardust, it's spoiler time. As I'm sure you can tell by the cover, Dr. Hindle is not a good doctor. Of course, it was his sperm that he used for the in vitro fertilization and not Adrian's.
They search for solutions. But God, money, magic, none of these things can fix our problems. None of them cure disease. Science does.
In real life, these procedures often end up in multiple births. And sure enough, she wound up with 3 fetuses, twin males in one sac and a female in another sac. In order to ensure a safe pregnancy, it was suggested that she abort one of the sacs. Of course, her husband and Dr. Hindle want her to keep the twin sac, but she decides to keep the female sac and has already named it Wendy. But that doesn't stop the men from going behind her back and aborting Wendy instead. She starts to feel that something is off with her pregnancy, and like I mentioned before, everyone, including her one friend, are gaslighting her and telling her that she has a mommy brain. And this term mommy brain gets said so much that it becomes annoying, which I'm sure is the intent. And while we know that everyone is working against her and is in on it, we also know that she is hallucinating sometimes. Her experience with the midwife is a perfect example of this. Feeling suspicious of Dr. Hindle, she seeks out this midwife, Grace Singleton, toward the end of her pregnancy. She tells Grace, "Your whole thing inspires me," which was such an eye-roll moment, and I wonder why Grace didn't comment on it, but it makes sense later. Lucy does attempt to give birth at Grace's birthing center, but when the second baby begins to crown, she starts to hemorrhage. So they then take her to Dr. Hindle, where he delivers the second baby. After Lucy gives birth to the babies, she goes back to Grace to mourn her loss of Wendy.
What happened to your office? Wasn't it more culturally, weren't there like masks and even your outfit looks different?
No. Nothing has changed.
Really?
I am not your mystical negress, Lucy.
I'm sorry. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Be better.
How?
I don't have the answers. It's not my job. It's yours.
They actually had to fight to get this clip in the film, along with the last image, which I'll get to in a bit. So this scene confuses us even further, and we're unsure of what was actually an hallucination and what wasn't. And for me, that's a bit bothersome. So after she leaves Grace's office, she heads to Dr. Hendel's office to get revenge. She beats up Dr. Hendel and his head nurse and drugs them. But I can't definitively say that she murders them. To me, it doesn't seem like it. While Dr. Hendel is restrained in the examination chair, feet in the stirrups and all, he watches as Lucy destroys his sperm that he's been using on all of his patients, spreading his nasty little seed everywhere. When she gets home after this, she grabs the twins and throws them out the window, and they begin to float, a la Peter Pan. And we're thinking, okay, she just killed the babies, and they chose to show it to us in this way, instead of us seeing two babies plummet to the ground. Cool. But no, it was just an hallucination. And I would have been okay with it going that dark, especially because she then just turns around and gives the twins to Adrian and tells him to leave their New York apartment, instead of really giving him what he deserves. I guess she felt that two crying babies that weren't even his was punishment enough. She then gets Wendy's fetus that she took from Dr. Hendel's office, which was definitely a how moment because the twins were born days ago, at least one day before, so it didn't make sense that the fetus was sitting the way that it was where it was. Anyway, she attempts to breastfeed this nasty little thing and begins to hallucinate that it's actually suckling. She's shocked and happy that it's actually taking. And this last image is also what they had to fight to keep in the film. Ilana and John always knew that this was going to be the last image in the film, despite any other changes that the script might have gone through. And it's a nasty little image, so I can appreciate it. False Positive gets 3 rainbow skulls out of 5. I appreciated the originality of the story, but the execution just fell a bit short. You can find this one on Hulu. Thank you again for joining me today, fellow Stardust. I appreciate you being here with me. I hope I see you on Saturday. I'll be uploading another episode of my series, True Crime and Nails. And I'll be showing you how I did this set. And next week, I will have that review of the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Until then, I hope you have a positive day and do something that your future self will thank your past self for. And if you want to join the Rainbow Fright Freight Train, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way you'll get notified every Thursday and Saturday when I upload more videos like this. All right, y'all. Peace.